let me show you this also. There is a little bit of gardening going on. So here in the foreground you have some garlic that we planted here in that box. And then we have some chive, this one here. In that empty section there are some seeds of different types of salad, but they have not emerged yet. And there we have cilantro, coriander. That is a very useful thing and we use it a lot. I'm so happy that we don't have to buy it anymore, because this one tastes a lot better. And in the remaining part, where we also put composted horse manure, so it's set for a good while, so it's definitely composted. There we spread a mix of different seeds, and if you look very closely you can certainly see a lot of green leaves emerging. These here came up a few days earlier than the others, so there you can definitely see them. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here you see them. This is a mix of all kinds of plants. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's a mix of vegetables and salad, and we will see what comes up. It's kind of a test. And here in this area there are a few beans in there, and they have emerged. There at the very end there are 2 potatoes. They have not shown up yet, but the potatoes started to germinate, and that is why we put them here instead of eating them. And this is on purpose not covered with horse manure, because my expectation is that the beans will do good to it. And let's see. The plan is to attach some sort of some wire to have something where the beans can then climb up, and when they show up then we will add this. There is a way to attach this, and if we have to, it's easy to simply weld it onto the metal frame here. And the plan is to have another box here and also another box, or maybe 2 up there, to have a little bit of a garden going on. And I might have mentioned this already, so these palovnia trees, they were the first trial, and the idea is to have more of the palovnia trees on the inside for shade and biomass. And the plan is also this year to finish finally the dog enclosure. So we have the doors, and the thing that we are missing is the segments for an industrial strength fence. Those things that you can find around industrial compounds. That's basically the idea. And we also have something very high on our list of things that we urgently need to do. There, where the pile of gravel is, and also the old bucket from the backhoe, there we will make a concrete slab. Plan is currently 6 by 5 meters, and make a battery house there. Because currently our solar system is there, and the box there contains the batteries, and when the ambient temperature rises to 45, then that's an issue, because the batteries will get too hot and they may actually be damaged by that. So that is what we want to fix. And of course now we have that. They will calm down eventually, and I might need to tell them again that the horses are not to be chased. So let me do that. Hey! Aus! Aus! Hey! Aus! Nein! Nein! Aus! Hey! Aus! Aus! Hey! Nein, 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 nein! Nein! As soon as they stop running, the chasing also stops. Because dogs are triggered by running other creature. So eventually they figured out to move slowly. We had them in the compound together a while, but as I want to avoid this, we usually don't mix them. But it wasn't my plan to have the horses in here, and I only did this so that the horses will not chase the cows, because that is what they like to do if they are together. So I rather have the dogs play with the horses than the horses play with the cows, because that variant will create a lot more damage. Right now they bark and run and then relax here in the shade again, and it's definitely a lot less worse than the other way around, because a cow stampede we definitely don't want, because they will flatten everything in their way, while the horses might get excited and jump, but nothing bad will happen eventually. While with the cows, all this, what you see here, this could be destroyed, and we don't want that. So now that I speak about this, let's go and check out what the herd had been doing down there. So let's loop around and have a look. So here is a very strange thing. I was just looking out of the window of the office, and today is Sunday, and I saw that. I see the whole herd in the areas that we call B1 arriba, up, and B1 down, abajo, and they're not supposed to be there. They are supposed to be in Zone C. So somehow they figured out a way how to get there. And I asked the guys, and no, it is Sunday, nobody was here. And if you look very closely, maybe I can zoom in there, you can see that the gate is closed, but they somehow destroyed it partially and jumped in. So nobody had opened that. They self-admitted into this area, and this area is not yet ready for grazing. It's supposed to wait a little bit longer, and I need to investigate what happened, how they managed to go there. Another indication from the distance is on the other side. There you see at least one large animal, and on the other side there you can see someone smaller. So there is a gate, the gate is closed, and further to the left there is this stone wall, and this looks a little bit weird, what you see there. And then comes the place with Sakahawea, the blind mare. So I guess I have to go over there and check it out. And also I have to feed her, so I will do the two things at the same time. So here we have the formerly mighty Sakahawea, and it's pretty unfortunate. We need to feed her, and she got a little bit skinny, but we are now feeding a little bit more, and it would be great if she could graze. We tried this, and I should include a video shot on a mobile phone, but the problem is there's too much stuff around, so breaking a leg is very likely. So this is her ration for today, and I will now distribute it off camera. So here it is. That should be okay for her, and it's away from the others. They are in a compound, and actually I have them in there together with the doggies. They know each other, but I had to tell the doggies that this is fine. So that one thing is accomplished. And now back to the other problem. So here we have 5516, and she's not supposed to be here. And now let's have a look. So here we have a few young ones, and there's also one cow that did not jump. Now let's see where they jumped. So this looks okay. The gate there is also okay. So it must be here. And I would think I already found it. So that is where they all jumped. And there's evidence here on the ground. You can see that there are footprints or hoof prints. That must be from them. The ground there is also a little bit disturbed. So this they destroyed. There's also something from their coat. And also here. This was not supposed to be a real fence. It was on the list of the 1,000 things to do, to build an actual fence here, and I guess now we have learned that this is a lot higher in priority. So now I can walk over there, but I guess for today I just leave things be as they are. So she can eat here. There is some forage around, and I leave the horses in the compound and leave the rest of the herd there in B1. We wanted to bring in the herd to this area here on Monday, so tomorrow. And now basically they moved the schedule forward. And I should probably show you a few other things in a separate segment. So I just learned by looking at our application Granja EU that actually these two areas were in the list of grazing proposals. So we now have a system that, based on some observations and the time between grazing sessions, proposes areas for grazing, and these two areas, they were in that list. So now I just opened them in the application, which of course has no reflection in the physical world, not yet. The gates could be automated, but that's a little bit science fiction, but not far from reality. Would work like opening a gate to your driveway, something like that. And so it's not so bad. So they did not destroy, with their self-admission, our grazing plan, but instead saved us the work. And of course we need to fix the fence, but that was on the list of the 1,000 things to do anyway. So here is a slight problem, which is why they were able to come in there, because that was down there and wasn't connected. And because it wasn't connected, that worked. So now it's making noise because the connection here is not very perfect. Yeah, you can see that there's a spark, and you can also see that's a little bit burnt. The connection is supposed to be like that. So maybe if I connect it up here, then now the electricity flows from up here to down there. Hopefully you can still hear me despite the wind. And now this does not produce a spark anymore. So that is now the better connection. Probably very noisy right now. So let's go and have a closer look at the damage. So because these two outside. I wanted two horses out of this area, and as you can see, this looks like clearly they tried to jump it. The top wire isn't there. The top wire wasn't there to start with, because it was not supposed to be grazed, and the sheep don't need that top wire. So I replaced that top wire. The top wire is hot, and now let me try to get these two in there, and everybody else should stay. And that's an easy fix, because we just put another plank on top of this, and then it should be okay. But now I probably need my two hands, so that Mr. Bull stays in there, and I show you a little bit more once I finish that little job. So now these two are in there, two bull calves, and now everything is okay. I will put this again in this makeshift way. I will fix it a little bit better in a moment with that string that's there. But I wanted to walk around a little bit and show you what we have here. So maybe because of the sun, first on this side and walking around a little bit. So from the other side you will then be able to see it much better. So what I wanted to tell you is, Juan found a buyer for a few more of the bovines, and our current way of removing the bovines, like I announced in that other video, is to start by selling the calves, because it's the calves that make management a lot harder, a lot more challenging. And the idea is to get rid of this additional job, and they are the ones who destroy the fencing all the time, especially the bull calves. So we have identified 13, and they will be leaving supposedly on Thursday, and they are in the age range that is attractive to Spanish buyers. And I show you the list in an image here. So we will then have 13 less animals, and the current thinking is to keep the adults. So for the moment we need to keep them anyway, because most of them are pregnant, and the first one has already given birth. That was 5516, and the other one, very small cow, 2.8 years old, 0575. She's somehow in here, I would think. They also tried, and then there are about 20 more that are about to launch, and that means we'll then definitely have a herd of the cows and their young calves for a year. And then, as much as I don't like this idea, we will then also sell those calves when they are old enough. So they will then probably go to a feedlot, and later they go for meat. Like I said, it's the calves that make our lives much harder, and we lose so much time building fencing and repairing fencing. So those bovines are very hard to manage, and therefore we made that decision. So a no fence system with those electronic devices around their necks that can also produce an electric shot if needed. Yeah, that's certainly a good idea, but it wasn't available when we started. Now it is, and it works if you do not do other things. Of course, you can always fence in the areas where they definitely should not go, but we started from a different point, and so this does not really help us at the moment. Sometime when we do something over there, I would definitely not build fences, but instead use such a system. But we are where we are, and now we reduce and switch over to poultry. Much easier to manage because they are a lot smaller. They don't destroy anything, and you can also keep them protected in a Salatine style chicken tractor, for example, so that the predators won't get to them. And the hens, of course, they find shelter under the trailer where their nesting boxes are in, and you can do a few other things like having a guard goose and a donkey and all these things to manage that part. So much easier, and should have a similar effect on our restoration effort. Because after all, we want to have this place green in summer, and we did not start out to be cattle ranchers. These animals are still just a tool, and we just adjust our toolbox. And you see, the dogs are now here because I am here, and they are in the shade, so they let the horses be and graze in the compound. That's usually how it goes. There's a little bit of excitement. Looks crazy and dangerous in the beginning. It could be dangerous, but usually it isn't. And now everybody has found their balance and their place to be. And so now the horses are there on the other side, grazing, and the doggies are here. So nothing to complain about at the moment. Of course, at night there might be something, but eventually the dogs want to sleep, and the horses also. So as long as they stay and move slowly, as they usually do, nothing really happens. And this one here is happily munching on fresh grass. The thing is, in our zone C, we don't have a lot of grass. It is the worst place to start with, and there is still no rain. So after that last shower that I was able to capture on video, there has been no rain so far, and none is in the forecast. So that is what we are looking at, and it will stay at least for the forecasted 10 days. And some people say it will stay like this for a month. So that's pretty bad. So spring is not delivering what we expected. And here you see another issue. They scratch on that, but then it's a palovnia, it will regrow quickly. But it's a little bit of a problem. So as long as this is occasionally and here and there, it's probably okay. But if they do this to all the trees, then we do 2 steps back, because there are some that have grown quite well, and that scratching might then set us back a little bit. But okay, now they are here, and as I said, it's Sunday. I'm not going to do anything but close that gate a little bit better. And now that there's wire here and also the band is hot, they should note that there is something. Of course, we don't have anything here at the bottom like we have in other areas where we also installed a physical fence. But as long there is food, forage is the best fence. They are not that eager to go out here. But then, of course, you noticed that there are 2 cows with some calves who have not gone on the excursion. But now that the horses aren't in this area there anymore, it should not be a big problem. So I'm gonna close that gate a little bit better, and then I show you a little bit of the food forest. You just saw a glimpse. There's a lot of flowering happening now, and I should probably share that with you. So bear with me in a moment while I use my 2 hands. And yeah, I could now use a tripod, but I don't want to drag a tripod around. Carrying the camera is already enough, and it's a bigger one. So I can tell you what I use. It's a Sony AX700, and it has some weight. Not that big, not that much, but enough. And on top there is a microphone, so here and there, when you see my shadow, you can see the contraption. So I need also to be a little bit careful not to damage the device. So I'll be back in a moment when I have done my job here.